I think Hong Kong is a land of opportunities. There is a chance for everyone who works hard, and it's a beautiful city. It's filled with people of different cultures. There's everyone living together here in Hong Kong. Yes, I am satisfied with my life in Hong Kong because it is I would say, one of the most convenient places to be in the world. And it has given me a lot from my education and friends, everything. I think it's a lot better than living in India, and it has given my parents a lot. Yes, that's why I am satisfied. Depends on the situation. With friends, sometimes we use English, not much. With Indian friends, I use Punjabi. At home, I use Punjabi. It's called Pong Che Po Yu in Chinese, and we use Hindi with our Pakistani friends, so it's Yan To Yu. And with at work, we use Cantonese. Yes. I don't really speak much Cantonese now. I used to when I was studying or when I was working with Chinese colleagues. But now all my colleagues are Indian or non-Chinese, so I don't use it much. Say yes, I did face some difficulties in Hong Kong for finding jobs because as I'm a Sikh, so I don't cut my hair or my beard. And whenever I try to find a job in food and beverage, a restaurant or a hotel, I've always wanted to work in a hotel. And sorry, they say you have to have a shaved beard, so I can't do that, so they don't really hire me. And apart from that, even restaurants, same requirements, same standards. And some of them, the ones that are okay with the beard, say that you can't wear a turban. The cloth that I wear on my head, they say you're not allowed to wear that because people really don't really understand our culture or our religion. They think it's a hat and we can just take it off. We can't do that. And language barriers, yes, many jobs require Putonghua or written Cantonese. My writing in Cantonese isn't too good. It's just decent, average, and I can't speak any Putonghua, so that's also a problem. The reason I say that is because many things I do in my daily life are influenced by the Indian culture or religion, but at the same time, living in Hong Kong, we have adapted to Hong Kong's culture. So I'd say I'm somewhere in the center. I don't think I'll ever go back to India for a living. For traveling, yes, it's okay, but not for a living because now we have adjusted to Hong Kong's environment and culture, so we won't be able to live there. And I don't think there's much we can do. It's quite difficult in India. I'd say no. I'd be okay even if I was out of Hong Kong because I feel like Indians or Pakistanis aren't really fully accepted by people here. You know, like people see others and cover their faces on, or when you're in the MTR, people won't sit with you. If you sit, then they'll stand up and walk away. I'm not saying everyone's bad, but some people aren't really accepting of us, so no. It's not really difficult for all minority groups, but some of them have restrictions because of their religions, just like us. And for the job career, I think maybe people will start knowing about the religions and the cultures and what they have to do, so it might get okay. If not, I would, for now, I'm planning to move to Canada for studies and then maybe a job afterwards. I think there's a huge cultural difference between Hong Kong and India, like the food, the clothing, the celebrations, the festivals, everything is quite different. The life is also a lot more slower in India, and a lot of the culture is influenced by the religions in India. So I would say religion and culture are both interconnected, but that's not the case in Hong Kong. Hong Kong religion doesn't really play a huge part in people's lives. The government can educate the people by seminars, talks, anything that's possible, but I don't think the government alone can do that. The religious organizations might have to play a helping hand too, give a helping hand too in this. That way, everyone can work together to create a better and harmonious Hong Kong. Yes, I think that would be a great idea because you know how some Muslim women have to cover their face with a hijab, or someone like me has to wear a turban, has to keep a beard. So if these job requirements or these standards are softened, then it would be a lot more easier for people to get jobs.
So my name is Saj, and I'm from an Indian background. I'm 20 years old, and I was born in Hong Kong. So today I'm gonna answer some questions about Hong Kong. So first, what I think about Hong Kong is that Hong Kong is a very convenient and safe place compared to many other cities in the world, and also Hong Kong is like a really multicultural place since there are cultures from different places and different backgrounds of the world. They're different people, so together they bring something different to Hong Kong. I think I'm satisfied with my life because I've been raised in Hong Kong, so I'm kind of used to everything. Again, it's safe, it's convenient, and also like because I've been studying in Hong Kong for like throughout my life, so it's like my place of education and home. So that's why I'm kind of satisfied with my life. And the language I use to communicate outside is English. At home, I use my own mother tongue, Punjabi, and when I'm out with like some Chinese friends, then I use Chinese. Um, Although my Chinese is not really that good, but it's on a good level to communicate with others. So basically, outside I use English and Chinese, and at home it's more of our own language. So the most difficult thing in Hong Kong, to what I think, is to find a job, because most jobs they have like high standards. They want you to speak Chinese and have a lot of experience. But in Hong Kong, I feel like to get experience, you need to get a job first, which is like kind of hard because if you're still in school and your Chinese is not good enough, so it won't be really easy to get a job. So finding a job is the most difficult thing I have realized like living here. My ethnic identity, I think, I'm Indian. Yeah, I'm Indian. Um, yeah, that's kind of it. And for job careers, in Hong Kong, I think that, yeah, again, to find a job, it's kind of hard because they have high standards. You need to know Chinese and you need experiences. It's kind of really hard based on what I think. Like, if I want to get a good job in the future, I really need to work on my Chinese. Even if, like, in university, Chinese isn't a subject for me, I still have to work on it because when you look for a job in Hong Kong, they will they will want to know if you know Chinese or not, or like even Chinese typing, which I've discovered that it's really a big difficulty since many jobs they not only want you to speak Chinese but they want you to know how to type Chinese as well, which is kind of impossible because we haven't really learned Chinese typing throughout our education system. Next is cultural differences between my country, India, and Hong Kong. Um, I think there are a lot of differences since again Hong Kong is more convenient and a better standard than our countries. Our country is more religious, more like more based in culture, and it's like a village. In Hong Kong, it's more of a city, and people are more open minded and more outgoing here. Where in our country, it's more like there are many things we're not allowed to do there, like what to wear and all that. Uh, that wise. And next, what do you think the government should do? Well, I think for the local minority groups, the government can. The best thing I think it can do is that maybe it can help the groups, the groups who like the teams or groups or centers who focus on helping the ethnic minority, such as Zubin Foundation or Caritas. These groups always help the minorities to like find a job or prepare them for certain interviews, and also they have activities for the minorities. So I think the government can like work with them, help them, maybe give them money to help us. And yeah, like basically those kind of things, because I'm not sure, like I'm not 100% sure what the government has done and what she hasn't, but yeah, that would be really something that she could do. She could join up with these groups. Next, have you ever encountered discrimination? For discrimination, basically, yeah, like maybe not directly, but indirectly, like when you're just out and about, some Chinese people, like not the young ones, but the older generation, they look at us funny, or maybe they like make those faces. Sometimes they even say bad things, but I mean, because they're old, so they don't really understand it. So it's still kind of like disrespectful, but we get used to it because the elderly, they aren't really used to um, like back in their time maybe there weren't that many minorities, so I guess they're not used to it. Otherwise, like I don't think I have been like abused by discrimination, not really. Also maybe at the job interviews, like when you first go walk in, they don't think you know Chinese at all. They think they'll try to speak English, and then they'll like think that maybe you cannot, maybe you're not really that educated. But yeah, so do I think I'm an Indian or a Hong Konger? Well, since we're raised in Hong Kong, we're born in Hong Kong. We spend most of our time, most of our childhood in Hong Kong. We go to India maybe once every 2 3 months. Like I mean, 2 3 years. We go for like 2 3 months every years. So I think we're more Hong Kong than we are Indian now, cause like this is what when we go to India we feel like we're tourists since we can't really do much because we don't really know about the place. But in Hong Kong we can roam around freely, and we know a lot about Hong Kong as if we are like as like we can tour someone around in Hong Kong because we know so much about Hong Kong. But in our own motherland, it's very confusing because we're not from there. So I think I am more of a Hong Kong Indian. Like maybe I'll put Hong Kong first and then Indian. So that's what I think. So I hope these questions help you in any way. So thank you.
Hi, thank you for asking me about the interview for a research project. And so I see you've given me 10 questions. I'm going to answer them now. So, first question, what do I think about Hong Kong? I think about Hong Kong as my home because I grew up here and I received my education here as well. I've also made many memories here and many friends here as well. So, yeah, I think about Hong Kong as my home. And yeah, question two. Are you satisfied with your life in Hong Kong? Yes, I am so far satisfied. Only thing that would be hard to be satisfied is, I guess, the rent in Hong Kong because, I mean, the living expense in Hong Kong is pretty expensive. Question three. What kind of language do I often use to communicate with my friends or family members? The language I use often is English, as I'm most comfortable with English. Question four. What kind of difficulty did I face in Hong Kong? The only difficulty that I would always face, or face till now, is language barrier, as my Cantonese is not very good, and I also can't really read or write Chinese very well as well. So that's the only difficulty I face, language barrier. Question five. What do I think about my ethnic identity? Because my nationality is Nepalese, I think of myself as Nepalese, and I'm also a ethnic minority living in Hong Kong. So being a ethnic minority is a part of my identity. 6. What do I think about the job career in Hong Kong? To be blunt, I would say if you can speak English and read English very well, and if you can also understand the local language, for example, if you can read, write, and speak the local language as well, basically which is Cantonese and Chinese, then you can pretty much find almost any job. But if you're looking for a career, then having the right education and the amount of experience can definitely get you a good career in a certain field that you're interested in. 7. What are the cultural differences between Hong Kong and my country? There's multiple differences, many differences. I would say the tradition, the religious clothing, the religion, the food as well. That's also a difference, and perhaps even some values can be different from from Hong Kong and my place, my country. Question 8. What do I think the Hong Kong government can do for the minority group? I feel like the Hong Kong government could perhaps offer more help to the minority in learning the local language. Yes, I feel like maybe they could put more emphasis and push the minority to pick up the language more. Perhaps have more classes, courses, or maybe in school as well, promote the language more, really emphasize the importance of knowing the local language in Hong Kong. 9. Have I encountered discrimination? Yes, I have. But of course, for now, it's very rare. But yes, growing up, I have faced slight discrimination, not a lot. But now it's quite rare. Quite rare now. 10. What makes me think that I am the identity I spoke myself of? Well, first reason why I think I'm a Nepalese is because I'm a Nepalese. So because my nationality is that I'm from Nepal. That's why as my ethnic identity I would refer to myself as a Nepalese. And I am a Nepalese living in Hong Kong, and the local, I guess, nationality will be Chinese, Hong Kong Chinese. I'm not Hong Kong Chinese, so I'm a ethnic minority. Hence why it's in my ethnic identity that I'm a ethnic minority. Hence why I think that's my ethnic identity. Yeah. Yep, that's all the 10 questions. Once again, thank you for asking me the questions. I really appreciate it. Good luck in your report.
For the first question, what do you think about Hong Kong? Well, I think Hong Kong it's a really beautiful city, although it's very crowded, and there's a lot of high buildings around here, and it's kind of like a quick step life in Hong Kong. And for question two, are you satisfied your life in Hong Kong? Until now, for now, yes, I am very satisfied with my life in Hong Kong. For number three, what kind of language you often use to communicate? Well, I normally use English to communicate. So for number four, what kind of difficulty did you face in Hong Kong? For me, it has to be the language and to understand people, and lastly is the housing. That's the difficulty. As for number five, what do you think of your ethnic identity? I feel that, what do I think? I think that although I come from different nationality, but I do belong here in Hong Kong. And as Hong Kong is a multicultural city, so I feel like I am being a part in here in Hong Kong. So coming for question number six, I think in Hong Kong, like you can easily find any job that you want to earn money, but when it comes to like a fixed career that you're searching for, it's really difficult to find that. Mainly for the people like who doesn't know how to speak Cantonese, and like they come from different family background. So I think it's really hard for them. For question number seven, what is the cultural differences between Hong Kong and your motherland? I think Nepal and Hong Kong is really different. Our background is also very different, and to give an example, I think our traditions, cultures, festivals, all the traditions are really different. Like there isn't anything that can be linked when it comes to culture. For question number eight, what do you think Hong Kong government can do for minority group? I think the first thing is always on the top, that is the housing, and for second, maybe give more opportunities or ideas regarding career in Hong Kong. That would be better. As for question number nine, have you ever encountered discriminations? Well, yes, I did. I have encountered discrimination, and at that time, I normally like to ignore that and don't want any fuss. As for the last question, number 10, do you think you are Nepalese or Hong Konger? For me, it comes like 50-50, as I do come from Nepal as well, and I was like born and raised up here in Hong Kong as well. So I do think that I am both Nepalese and Hong Konger.
I think Hong Kong is the best place in the world. It's so fun to be in Hong Kong. Like the entertainment facilities in Hong Kong are amazing. The tourism facilities, the attractions built for tourists, for residents are amazing. The theme parks, the AIA Carnival. It's just amazing to be in Hong Kong. It's just full of life. You can enjoy, you can love yourself. And the special thing about Hong Kong is it's a multicultural city. You'll find lots of different people coming from different culture living together. There are lots of ethnic minority group living in Hong Kong, and I am also a ethnic minority, so I love this thing about Hong Kong. Yes, of course. I feel so satisfied with my life living in Hong Kong because Hong Kong has given me a lot of opportunity to learn, to have fun, to gain more knowledge, especially when it comes to education system. I love Hong Kong because compared to my motherland, I guess Hong Kong has way much better education system than any other country actually. So I love this thing about Hong Kong. And yes, we use two language to communicate with friends and family. The first one would obviously be English because we use English to communicate with our friends, with siblings, with anyone, teachers, or any other person. We'll use English to communicate. And for my parents, because their English isn't that good, so I use Urdu, which is my mother tongue. So we'll use Urdu for parents. Other than that, we'll use English for everyone we speak to. Sometimes we Chinese with locals, a bit maybe. Yeah, so what I was saying, the main difficulty I face in Hong Kong is language. I have language barriers in college, in schools, in universities, or even in when I was working as an intern. I feel this difficulty because my Chinese isn't that good, and in Hong Kong, the locals prefer Chinese and Mandarin, like Cantonese and Mandarins, and I don't know both. It's really hard for us ethnic minorities to communicate with them using Chinese or like Cantonese or Mandarin. Because, like, the Chinese and the Mandarin we've learned is primary schools level 3, like primary 3 is Chinese. We've been told primary 3 is Chinese, if I'm not wrong. So compared to local, their Chinese is way, way, way much better than us. So our is kind of level 1 if they're level 5. So can't compare, right? Um, this question is hard. What do you think of your ethnic identity? So even I'm confused because sometimes I want to say I'm a Hong Konger, but then when I think about locals, they never accept us as Hong Kongers. I know it's sad, but then they never accept us as Hong Kongers. So as a result, we have to call ourselves as Pakistanis. I don't have much better answer for this. Yeah. Well, for us ethnic minorities living in Hong Kong, it's really hard for us to build a job career because there are some certain requirements, right? Language, uh, language, and like there are some skills that we could ethnic minority couldn't even be able to fulfill. So it's really hard for us to build up a career because you need connections and all that. So it's hard. What are the culture differences between Hong Kong and your motherland? The main culture difference coming in my mind right now, maybe the scarf, the scarf I'm wearing right now, because for us we need to cover our face, and then for Hong Kong we doesn't need to, right? So this is the main thing, I guess. Other than that, maybe I think a Hong Kong government should ask the primary schools and the secondary schools to teach the same level Chinese for both ethnic minorities and locals so that they can learn the same level rather than just learning primary schools Chinese even in secondary school. So it will be better for ethnic minorities. They can learn more. And also I think they can organize some classes, Chinese classes, and then some Mandarin classes for ethnic minorities for better understanding. And then they can also hire some workers, like ethnic minority workers, to encourage them to build up their career in Hong Kong, or to give some motivational speech to other ethnic minority to encourage them. And yes, of course, being an ethnic minority, I think most of us have encountered discriminations. Well, for me, there was one time when I was going to my school. Yeah, I guess, yeah. I was going to school by MTR. So when I entered the MTR, Then there was an old lady. She was looking at me like, I don't know. I was so awkward at that time. She was literally looking at me like I've done something. Maybe because of my skin color, I'm brown, yeah? So maybe that's why. I don't know. That was so awkward. Yeah. What makes you think that you are Pakistani? Um, Maybe culture difference, or maybe I don't know. I'm not sure about it because I'm confused. But basically, I can say maybe culture difference make me think that I'm Pakistani, and because of not being accepted by lots of locals as a Hong Konger, so I have to be a Pakistani. Yes. Thank you.
Hi, so this is for the interview for your case study. You gave me a bunch of questions, so I'll just answer them now. So the first question is, what do I think about Hong Kong? I think Hong Kong is fine. There's nothing wrong with Hong Kong. Living here as a minority is pretty fine. Nothing majorly wrong about Hong Kong. The second question is, are you satisfied about your life in Hong Kong? And yes, I am. I'm satisfied about my life in Hong Kong. I've lived here long enough to be comfortable here and to feel like I belong here, even though I am an ethnic minority. The third question is, what kind of language do you often use to communicate with your friends? I often use English because it's just the question that the language that I'm most comfortable with, and it's the one that I'm most fluent in. But with my local friends, my Chinese friends, I do tend to use Chinese. So the fourth question is, what kind of difficulty do you face in Hong Kong? Personally, the biggest difficulty I face in Hong Kong would be that sometimes I can't communicate with the locals here because sometimes the language barrier really comes in the way. For example, when I meet someone of a higher level of Chinese, it would be difficult for me to talk to them because there are always going to be certain words that I just don't understand or I don't know how to come across, and it gets difficult. And that's one of the main difficulties. And obviously, reading and writing Chinese, it's difficult when you go to a place and everything is in Chinese. You're like, how do I, like, if you go to a restaurant and everything's in Chinese and you're like, what do I order now? So that's one of the main difficulties. Number 5 would be, what do you think of your ethnic identity? I would consider myself a Hong Kong local person because I was born and raised here. I'm 20, turning 21. I've been here for 20 years. But I am half Pakistani, half Vietnamese. But I would just consider myself a Hong Kong person. I was born, raised here. I feel like I'm from here, so. The 6th question is, what do you think about your job or career in Hong Kong? I'm a student. I study at City U, and I also have a part-time job at a cafe where I'm a barista, and it's a very local cafe. It's a cafe that is in Mui Wa. It's in a village, and obviously there are a lot of Chinese locals that come in to drink coffee, get their bread, and it's pretty good. As long as you can speak the language, I feel like everything is fine, and it's fine. The people are really understanding and caring for whether or not you can speak Chinese or not. The 7th question is, what are the cultural differences between Hong Kong and your motherland? Again, my motherland would be in Hong Kong, but if we're talking actual motherland, it's Pakistan and Vietnam. The differences are that here in Hong Kong, it's very relaxed, it's very chill. There's not many rules. For my country, my motherland, Pakistan, there's a lot of rules and stuff that you have to follow, such as the clothing and how you speak, what you eat. In Pakistan, there's no pork. You can't wear shorts. You can't wear revealing clothing. You have to be covered at all times. And in Vietnam, it's very similar as well. Everything there is quite modest and quiet. Everything's very quiet, as opposed to Hong Kong, where everything's so busy and hectic and just crazy. The eighth question is, what do you think Hong Kong government can do for the minority group? I feel like the government can't really do much anymore. I feel like the government, over the past few years, a lot of different governments have done quite a lot for the minority in Hong Kong. They've provided us with the subsidies and all of the appropriate subjects and activities in schools, such as having separate classes for certain schools, one for ethnic minorities, one for the locals, so you're not too scared about having to learn with the same group of people. So if you're not comfortable with the Chinese students, you don't have to learn with them, and if you're not in the same language level as them, you don't have to learn the same at the same pace as them. If you're not as good in Chinese, then you can learn at an easier level. Number 9, have you ever encountered discrimination? I personally haven't, because I don't really look very ethnic. People just assume that I'm a mix of a Western gene and something else. No one can ever get my race right, so I've never really felt that discrimination, but I've had people around me that have been discriminated. So sometimes if I'm with my mom, they say, oh, she's Pakistani. She doesn't look it, but you can tell because she has those big eyes, the features, she looks Pakistani, and she does get discriminated quite a bit, but it's nothing that we're not used to in Hong Kong. It's something you just have to get used to, and it's normal for us now. You can't really do anything about it. It's just how some people think. It's just how some people were raised in Hong Kong, and it's just their understanding, and we have to respect that, and it's okay because this isn't our home. We are not from here, so we just ignore it, honestly. The 10th and last question is, what makes you think that I am so and so? So I feel like I'm from Hong Kong, and I'm a Hong Kong person because I was born and raised here. A lot of my background is from here. A lot of my character values are very Hong Kongified. So I don't really consider myself Pakistani or Vietnamese. I don't have many of those cultural backgrounds or cultural values. I don't really follow any of my own race or identities, rules. Everything I do is very westernized and very Hong Kongified. So, I would just like to say that I'm from Hong Kong, so that's just my answer. Thanks.